All right, hello again. This is Jeff Scott with Chapter 17 of 17 that I plan on covering before the semester starts. The book is iOS 9 App Development Essentials. The class is 152, 153, Mobile Web Development iOS. I've done the first 15 chapters. I'm now doing 17, and I'm going to go back and do 16. This is a fairly short chapter, and again, it will require no code on our part. But what they're doing is they're talking about concepts, and in particular, the concepts of views, windows, and view hierarchies. All right, and as mentioned, you can see it on the screen right here. I'll put it all in blue so you can see it. Everything that happens on your screen is essentially a view. So each time that you have a view controller, which is a screen, everything that you put on there is a subclass of a view. So in other words, there is a label view, an image view, a button view, a text field view. These are all subclasses of the UI view class. All right. Next, they talk a little bit in here about the window class. And as you can see, it says if you have developed or even used apps for desktop systems such as Windows or Mac, you should be familiar with the concept of a window. A typical desktop app will have multiple windows, each of which has a title bar and controls up on the top, usually up here, where you can minimize, maximize, close things, etc. The UI window class provides a similar type of functionality for iOS-based apps. But it says there in that second paragraph there are differences in that an iOS app typically only has one window. So the window typically will fill the entire screen and it won't have the same kind of title bar that you'll see, for example, in a Windows app. The UI Windows class, as it says, is also a subclass of the UI View class. Okay, so next they get into talking a little bit about the view hierarchy here. And as mentioned right here, iOS user interfaces are constructed using a hierarchical approach whereby different views are related through parent-child relationships. On the top or at the top of this hierarchy is the window object, and then you can add other objects to it, and they show an example here. So this would be a window. The window would have a view in it. The view would currently contain a button, a label, and a text field. You can nest these things to different levels if or as needed. And here's an example here in the middle of page 128. All right, so in this case, what do we have? Well, we have a window. The window has in it a UI view, and the UI view has within it a button, a label, and a subview within its view, and that subview has its own button and image view. And as the author mentions right underneath the figure that you see on your screen, that the hierarchical structure of this has implication for how views appear and behave. Subviews, as it says, always appear on top of and within the visual frame of the corresponding parent. All right, well, what does that mean? Well, as they mention here, if you wanted to do something like this and create it, it would look something like this. All right, in this example, as they mention right here, the UI window instance is not visible because it's been totally obscured by the UI view, UI1 view, I guess it is. And in that UI1 view, again, what do we have in there? We've got a button, we've got a label, and we've got another view. And that view within it then can also have a button and an image view. So I should say that this is the window. Within this window, we've got a view. Within this main view, we've got a button, we've got a label, and we've got another view, which is shown here in yellow. Within that other view, we've got a button, and we've got an image view. So as they mention underneath this, it says the view hierarchy also defines how events are handled when the user interacts with the interface. It's what they refer to as the responder chain. And they give an example here that says if a subview receives an event that it cannot handle, it gets passed up to its superview. If the superview can't handle it, it's passed up to its parent. All right, so it bubbles up. It's very similar to things we've discussed in other languages. And ideally, it reaches some place within this chain where it can be responded to. Okay? Now, they also mention on the bottom of the screen here, but it's really the middle of page 129, the author says a useful technique for displaying the hierarchical ancestors of a view object is to perform what's called a Control-Shift-Click operation over the object in the interface builder. So it says, for example, here this shows the results on the convert button in the unit converter project that we do in Chapter 16. So in that particular example, you see this. And what's that showing? What that's showing is the button is a child of the view, which is a child of the view controller. All right? The rest of the chapter very quickly goes over different types of views. And as they mentioned there, Apple groups the various views of the UI kit framework into a number of categories. The main ones are discussed in the rest of this chapter. So first you've got the window, as mentioned on page 130. The window, again, is the root view of the view hierarchy, and it provides the surface on which all subviews draw their content. Then we have container views. Container views, as mentioned, enhance the functionality of other view objects. Things like a scroll bar or a scroll view, which provides scroll bars and scrolling functionality on an as-needed basis. Then we have controls. And as mentioned here, controls encompass views that present information to the user and respond to user interaction. So controls can be anything. They can be something that responds to a user interaction, like a button, and it can be something that presents information to a user, like a label, or it's something that can do both, for example, a text view. All right. Next, we have display views, and as mentioned, they're similar to controls in that they provide visual feedback, but the difference is they don't respond to user interaction. So I guess that's a label. All right, so I was wrong previously. Okay, a label is a display view, technically, and not a control. Next, we have text and web views. As it says, these are designed to provide a mechanism for displaying formatted text to the user. You may remember we used a text view last semester when we were doing the bullseye game. All right, when we tried to do the splash screen for it, or the rules screen, whatever you call it. Next are navigation views and tab bars, which provide mechanisms for navigating through a user interface. They work with the view controller and typically are created from within the interface builder. Finally, we have alert views, which are designed specifically for prompting the user regarding information. And they also typically have buttons that the user can do to confirm something or cancel something or whatever. So this chapter, as mentioned on the bottom of the page here, it's 3 or 4 pages long, was to just get you in the mode to start thinking about this stuff. All right? What we get into next is a talk on auto layout, and this lasts for about 7 chapters. An auto layout is the ability to put an app on your screen and have wherever you put things stay where they are, regardless of whether you are in portrait or landscape mode. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the program for Chapter 16, which is called Creating an Interactive App. And I wouldn't even know, how much you're going to think this is an unbelievably interactive app, but it's a simple temperature conversion program. If there's time, maybe we'll even add a couple bells and whistles to it. All right, and that will then complete the first 17 chapters.